goal for the evening is to inform our citizens, to encourage civic involvement, and to bring the community together by achieving a more robust and thorough democratic process. I'd also like to introduce our moderator for the evening, which is Ed Frazier, who will lead the discussion. And a little bit of information if you didn't know. So Ed and Elizabeth have not lived in Speedway for the past 4 years. They used to live at 5007 West 14th Street for 54 years.
It's 14.
14? Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. They are charter members of the Old Speedway City Neighborhood Association. Elizabeth was president for 4 years during the time of the historic area designation. Mr. Frazier has taught at the Speedway High School for over 40 years, and he is a member of the Speedway Town Council for 8 years, and they are truly, and I quote, Speedwayites.
Yes.
Excellent. I wish to be one of those soon myself. So I will let Ed take over for moderation. I appreciate all of your participation and attendance.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so glad to be here. I was so honored to be asked to moderate this. So before we get into the program, I want to direct your attentions to most seats have this sheet on your chair, and this involves the committees and boards that we have that you can be that you can get involved with, and that's I think the most important way to start getting involved with our government here is volunteer on the various committees and boards. The open positions are marked on there, and as I understand, this will be explained more at the next OSCNA meeting. The program this evening is designed to inform the entire Speedway community about the basics of the democratic process. The election of town councilors is probably the most important thing, or one of the most important, let's put it that way. And that's going to be in November of 2019. And so we're starting to get people interested and get them interested in the background here. We have with us a representative from the Democratic Party, Marion County Democratic Party, the Libertarian Party, and the Republican Party. And they'll be introduced here very shortly. And now I'll have each panelist introduce themselves. We'll start here. We'll start. Here's what I'd like. Name, party affiliation, length of time involved in working with your party.
Yeah, my name's Greg Lannon. I'm the executive director for the Marion County Republican Party. I've been involved, I've started working for the Marion County Republican Party about 14 months ago, but I've been involved virtually my entire life in the party, the Republican Party in some shape or form, so.
Hi, I'm Alex Totten. I am the political director for the Marion County Democratic Party. I have been at County Party since March of 2017 and started in party politics in 2016 when I served as Congressman Andre Carson's field director. Most of my political career has actually been involved in LGBT rights activism, which I did for about 5 years before that.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mohammed Abbasi. I'm representing the Libertarian Party today. First of all, thank you to the Old Speedway City Neighborhood Association and to the United Methodist Church for hosting this evening. Really excited to be here. I've been working with the Libertarian Party now for about 6 months, specifically with Mark Rutherford's campaign for Secretary of State. Really excited to be working with the campaign in that regard and with the party. So kind of a fresh face in the party, but happy to help out nonetheless.
Well, the program will consist of a series of questions that each panelist will have from 90 seconds to 3 minutes to answer. They got to talk fast. And after each question, basic questions, then we'll open up the floor to questions from the audience. And when you ask your question, please say it very loudly so everybody can hear what it is. I'll try to repeat it if I can. Now, the first question I'd like for them to do is, here's the first question, sorry. We have heard the buzzword of national campaigns about many issues that affect the national campaign, but have very little effect on local or small town campaign. So the question I'm asking the three gentlemen up here is, what is your party's small town platform? We'll start with the Democrat.
Yeah, so for us in Indianapolis, at County Party, we are intrinsically only focused on Indianapolis and all of the cities and towns that are contained within. And what I would say, our platform is very much focused on smart and efficient government that benefits the people. Whether that comes in with transit expansion or infrastructure funding, what we always want to do is be focused on improving quality of life in Indianapolis, whatever form that takes. It comes from top down, whereas we have the Mayor of Indianapolis, Mayor Hogsett, who has been able to cut the budget and make it more efficient, lessening the burden on taxpayers. Or if it comes from our state house representatives, people like Carly Macer, who is the state representative here. Carly is an absolute crusader for the working class and for working folks, where she's passed bills involving renters' protection rights, and she focuses so incredibly heavily on Speedway. So although we don't have any elected officials on the Speedway Town Council, we have a lot of elected officials at various other levels with the City County Council in Indianapolis, with our township elected officials like our judge who is with us tonight, Joe Coleman, thank you for coming, and our constable. So really it is about doing the best with government and efficient governing. However, we can do that at every level.
Mohammed, would you go next?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, with the Libertarian Party, we truly try to be involved in each citizen's life. It's more about letting the citizen of each township, of each town, of each city have their own rights. We take a look at three main words, and it's freedom, respect, and compassion. You should have the freedom to do what you want to do, freedom to be involved in the things you want to be involved with, but you need to make sure that we're having respect for everybody else, and so we take a look at what is it that we could do to make sure that everyone can be involved in their community, and then we look at compassion. You want to make sure that everyone is able to get with that community, as I mentioned, that everyone is able to have their moments with each other, that everyone's able to meet with who they want to meet and be involved in how they want to be involved in. It's not our place to necessarily tell you guys exactly what you need to do or how you need to do it. It's just our place to set those kind of guidelines to allow you guys to have those choices that you guys get to then determine exactly what it is you want to do as citizens. So that's our main focus. We take a look at other things, such as a big part of our platform is small business representation, to make sure that small businesses have the ability to do what they need to do. And then we take a look at things such as gerrymandering, which has been a big issue in recent years, making sure that everyone has the proper representation to make sure that their voices are heard. Because we want to make sure that even in a town like Speedway, where people might not think of it, around the rest of Indiana, we want to make sure that people are still thought of, and we want to make sure that people's voices are heard. So.
Greg?
Yeah, so I would start off by saying, in full disclosure, I'm not from Marion County. I was born here. I wasn't raised here. I was raised in a trailer park in Westfield. And then I moved to a small town at the time called Fishers in 1995 that had a population that's half the size of Speedway right now. And I would say that if you see the booming growth in Hamilton County, you'll notice a similar trend down here, right? And that's that every single municipality is different. To say what is our 1 or 3 talking points for any party that we're going to say that is going to advance each municipality is a farce, because quite frankly, each municipality has different needs. They have different things. I would disagree to a degree with my Democratic counterpoint and say that it starts at the top and moves down. I would say it starts at the bottom and moves up. A successful Indianapolis needs a strong Speedway. We certainly need the track, Allison transmission. There are plenty of things here. They've got the 13th best, I believe, schools in the state. So there's quite a few things here that we can work with and improve on. And I was just on Main Street 20 minutes ago meeting with somebody. So if you look at the economic development, where people are going, what they're doing, every municipality is different. So to say that what are we going to do, as sort of a broad stroke for each municipality isn't fair to those municipalities, because each municipality has their own strengths, their own weaknesses, and their own issues that they're dealing with. And certainly we're going to work hard to help all those. And a strong Speedway is good for Marion County. So.
Thank you. The next question is, why is it important, and how do we achieve a more robust democratic process here? And we'll start with Mohammed.
Thank you. The way to achieve the more robust democratic process is simple. Coming out to a forum like this tonight, that's at the very basis of what you can do. You're getting involved right now with not one, not two, but 3 representatives of 3 different parties, and that's the way to really start getting involved. You get involved by going to those forums, you get an idea of what interests you and what you're looking at, what is it that pulls at your heartstring, what is that pulls at your mind. And then from there you get to decide, how do I want to get involved? Do I want to volunteer? Do I want to go ahead and be part of the election process by being a candidate? Do I want to see how I can work with the party itself and more of a career option? Those are the ways that you start looking at that democratic process. It's a way to get that representation for all parties that are involved. There's more than just 2 options now, which is something that people are starting to realize. The Libertarian Party has been around since 1980s. However, we're starting to see a stronger growth now because people are starting to get more involved and starting to have a better idea of what the Libertarian Party represents and how it might differ and how that might affect their viewpoints. People were afraid before to say that they were something else besides a Democrat or Republican, but now we have the option to grow from there, and I think that's a best way to get involved in that democratic process and how to create a stronger one overall for the town of Speedway, for the city of Indianapolis, all the way up to the national level.
And then, great.
Okay. Yeah, so I think he's right to say just community involvement. If you look at somebody like Andy Harris, who's our current township trustee, if you look at the community involvement he's done, half the battle in life is just showing up, right? It's a willingness to commit yourself to be involved in something. That's why everyone here is obviously here today, because they care about their community. They care about what's going to happen in the future. Andy's obviously been a great public servant for us for decades. From any level, whether it was with the Mayor Ballard's administration or as township trustee, and we're certainly thankful for him. But being here right now, what you're doing is part of the process, and I think you all can see that voter apathy is clearly something that not only this county, this state, but this country faces as something that's a problem. I mean, we have less than 50% of our voters turn out. So showing up, doing the right things, being involved, whether we, at some point, all of us are up here are going to disagree, but the fact that you're out here working to show what your beliefs are, I think is the most important thing you can do. And again, like what Andy's done for us has been amazing. He just shows up, he goes to work every day, and we're certainly thankful we have him.
Yeah, I'm going to touch on how we achieve a more robust democratic process and then talk about why it's important. In my mind, the #1 way to achieve a more robust process is to increase access to voting. Luckily, in Marion County, we took that first huge step with this election cycle by increasing our early vote locations. One, if you haven't heard, there's one in Wayne Township. It's going to be at the International Marketplace, just on 38th and Lafayette. Please go and early vote. It's super fast. It takes like 5 minutes. I have never voted in person. I always early vote because it's just that great. What we need to be doing is breaking down all of those barriers that prevent people from voting. If we do not do that, we are doing a disservice to our democracy. We need to make sure that everyone can get their voice heard, and that can come in other ways too. We can talk about voter registration efforts. We can talk about absentee ballot voting. All of these different ways will help us achieve a more healthy democracy. And it is important that everyone, even if we do disagree, even if we have different viewpoints, that everyone is getting that opportunity to get their voice heard. By increasing access to voting, we make that happen.
All right, now, are there some questions from the audience? Yes.
To all 3 of the members of the party, I hear the word partisan and bipartisan. In your opinion, what do either one of those, what's their role in the political process?
Did anybody not hear that?
Right. You want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that when we hear partisan and bipartisan, we think typically Republican and Democrat at a federal level, but I think when you look at a municipal level, people are willing to look at the other side of the aisle at a local level. If you've got a drainage issue every time it rains and your backyard floods and somebody's willing to fix that, I mean, my God, you may hate Donald Trump and vote for Hillary Clinton, but you're like, look, that guy is going to help me fix my issue. I'm willing to give him a second look. And quite frankly, all three of us up here don't deal with the federal level too much. Obviously, we are this year with the Senate race, you know. But I would say that at the end of the day, it's about delivering good quality government to folks. It's not about who's an R and who's a D. It's about who's doing their job the best. It's about who's able to deliver quality, tangible things to their constituents. And I think that that's the most important thing that we can be doing as a party. At the end of the day, if we're not doing that, then nobody up here has any business sitting here right here. It should be about, at the end of the day, not who's going to win, who's going to lose. It's about who's doing the best job for their constituents. How are we helping them achieve their whatever issues they've got? How are we helping them complete those? Municipal government affects the daily lives of people more than any other level of government in this country. You guys don't see or feel a lot of things they do at the federal level, but you will every time there's a road closure, every time that there's an issue with drainage, every time there's an issue with homicides, whatever it may be. So it's our job to make sure that your lives are not as in, whether, if it's good, you know, in your quality of life, live, work, play as well as possible. But if there's things that have to go on, it's about minimizing those as much as possible.
Yeah, I'll echo that. That's incredibly true about municipal politics, is that those are the decisions that affect our day by day, and we see that there's a lot more of a willingness to be bipartisan than what you see at the divisiveness in DC. There's a lot more cooperation, and something our chair, Kate Sweeney Bell, recently said is that a good idea is a good idea. And you find that a lot at the municipal level, that these issues that come up day by day are just issues of problems with infrastructure, or problems with your neighborhood. These are things that don't need to be tackled in a partisan way, and we shouldn't. It's like the early vote centers that we got was a bipartisan resolution, whatever the functionality of that was. The Republicans joined us in getting those early vote locations. It took a unanimous vote of the election board that has a Democrat and a Republican on it. Yeah, so there are just things that are good ideas, things that we all can agree on that we need to deliver to the people.
I'm going to have to chime in with both Greg and Alex. Obviously, it doesn't matter whether or not you're a Democrat, Republican, Libertarian. A good idea is a good idea, just as you said, Alex. My one thing is, obviously, when you say, when there are words such as a bipartisan, then that does leave out a third party. And that's
Got a tripartisan.
That's the thing. We always look at, as Libertarians, we always try and push the word tripartisan, because we're not looking to back away or abandon anyone else. We're looking to work with everyone else as well, just as Republicans and Democrats can work together. We're looking to work with both. We're kind of that guy right in the middle there, and we're looking to be helpful on both sides of the aisle. We could be the middleman, you never even know. But that's the whole point of a tripartisan effort, is you've got that triangle, each side is supporting each other. I think it's important to have different viewpoints. I think both, having all three parties represented is an important it's an important thing that we need to have in our communities, because everyone has a different viewpoint. It's going to be, nothing's going to get done if everyone just got the same side. Then everyone's just going to be a yes man, and you don't want that. You want to have motivations for change, and the only way to have that is to have those different parties and those different outlooks, because that's the only way that you're going to have people starting to debate things, starting to grow, and starting to communicate forward.
Okay. Is there another question from the audience? If not, we'll move on to the next question for them that we have here. How does the election process work in local Indianapolis organization here, your organization? Who does an interested person contact? What are the important dates for those interested in running to consider? And then how does your party choose a candidate? Can you provide contact information tonight for those?
Start with me,
Let's start with Mohammed.
Well, looking at the election process, it's fairly straightforward. It would depend on what party or what position you're looking to run for at that very basis. But what I would refer you to is the LPIN.org, which is Libertarian Party of Indiana.org. Our chair, Tim McGuire, is heavily involved with each individual candidate. He gets involved as much as possible, which is the beauty of our organization. Everyone is trying to get involved with everyone else. There's a lot of efforts to have people assisting each other. If you see people running at a statewide level, they'll help those people at the local level, which is a really nice effort that we have. I do have the contact information for Tim McGuire. I'd be happy to provide it to anybody interested as well. But that's the mere basis what we have. We choose a candidate the same way anybody else would. We do have our a primary. We are involved with the primary elections. For some positions, we do also have a pre-primary convention. We just had one here in Indianapolis at the JW Marriott back in May to determine our Secretary of State candidate as well as our state auditor and state treasurer candidate. So we do have that process as well, similar to, I believe the Democratic process is similar to that. So we, not too much differing there.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so for our process, I'm thinking more in the context of Speedway Town Council. Coming up, you will have the opportunity to participate in the primary, which is just as simple as filling out what is called a Can-To form and filing that with the election board. And then you are qualified to be on the ballot as long as you live in Speedway and meet those qualifications. I think what people are probably more interested in is our primary process.
Pre-primary convention.
Yeah, our pre-primary convention. We have this in February. The process for that will be open in late 2018, early 2019. This is the way that we have our folks in our party determine who the party is going to support. There's a lot that goes into it. I can take specific questions. I'm actually the person that handles that, so you can talk with me if someone does have specific questions. I can answer more of the specifics. But that is coming up. The opening of filing, I believe, starts on January 1st, or whatever Monday is the first Monday in January. And then you have about a month to file for primary, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so Alex and I have that's a very standard question, right? Yeah, so I also run the GOP side of our pre-primary conventions. But I would also say that we're always open and looking for folks to get involved, right? So it's not just like, okay, this guy's an incumbent, there's no reason why I shouldn't run, right? Like, good ideas create better policy. And if you're somebody that's willing to go out there and put your name on the ballot and go out there and get engaged, there's no reason why you shouldn't come meet with us. Good ideas will create a better Speedway, it will create a better Indianapolis, it will create a better Marion County. And so we will meet with anybody I'll meet with anybody at any given time. We're in campaign season, so my phone is on 24/7, 365, as I'm sure these two folks are. There's no reason why we can't have a conversation, whether it be about the cycle right now or a cycle going into the future. What you guys have in Speedway is great, certainly, and but we're always willing to talk. And quite frankly, that kind of dialogue helps make a better, more robust community. So.
Thank you. Now, are there questions from the audience? Yes?
Nobody mentioned the slating convention as a way to pick candidates.
I'm sorry, can you speak a little louder?
Nobody mentioned slating.
Slate. We were going to get to
as a way to
slating.
pick candidates. How many times can you have a slating meeting for one election?
How many times has the slating been what?
How many times can you have a slating?
Oh, okay.
I'll probably answer.
Probably the exact same thing.
Yeah, so slating is a little bit different now based on Indiana state law. We no longer call it slating, we call it our pre-primary convention. I would argue you guys played a little fast and loose with the judge thing, but and we decided not to use that. So essentially our pre-primary convention is now called slating. Our slating is now called our pre-primary convention. And we do that before every cycle. I think you guys do as well, correct? Yeah. So that's essentially how we do it. We do it before the filing deadline, typically the weekend before. I assume you guys do as well. So that's what we do.
Alex, could you explain what happens at the
Yeah, sorry. That yeah, the term is different now. What was once called slating is called the pre-primary convention. Yeah, it's due to Indiana law. We actually it's the exact same stuff. We actually held ours in the exact same place. This year.
Tech?
Yeah, at
Yeah,
Ivy Tech,
did you?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were the week after you guys.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, the whole process of that is that our precinct committee people come together and vote, and they
And
vote.
how many times can you vote?
Just
Speedway had 3 of them last time for the town council. I thought you could only have one slating.
well, for us, we only have one. And those, so like if someone were want to come through the convention for the Democrats, it all happens that same day. So
But how many times can you vote for the same people and for one election?
well, I mean, just the once. We would have our folks vote once at the convention, and then I guess also at the primary.
The actual.
Yeah, the actual like
Yeah.
primary. Yeah, I'm not sure.
But how did Speedway get to vote 3 times until they got the person they wanted?
Did you?
Yeah, so I think I understand what you're saying. No. So I think I understand what you're saying is, so for each race, I'll say for the Republican Party, do you guys have ward chairs?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you guys have township chairs too, right?
No.
Okay, so we have township chairs. Each township chair, we have a township chair in each 9 counties. Andy Harris used to be one, God bless him, just got Township Chair of the Year after he resigned, and now Gary Rake's back there as our other Township Chair. So what we do is, each Township Chair can vote in each race, for all of your races, and then we have precinct committeemen who can vote only if they're in the designated district, okay? And so if a precinct committeeman can't make it there within 30 seconds, or not within we send the notice out 30 days ahead of time. They've got until 10 days before. If they can't make it, they can appoint their vice precinct committeeman to vote in their place. And then as well as ward chairs. So if you have a ward that covers, and this is very, very rare, but if you've got a ward chair that covers 2 different Speedway districts, that one individual may be able to vote in 2 of those. But I would say that that's 1 out of 100 for us. So we vote on those, we select those candidates, and then we support those ones going forward, and then obviously they vote in the primary.
Okay. All right. Gary, did you want to comment?
I think I can answer Mrs. Wilson's question.
Yes.
There were actually and I'll try and speak as loudly as to make sure I'm looking. If you can't hear me, say so. 4 years ago, in late January or February, the Republican Party for the county held slating, which is now called something different. And that particular day, they have a countywide process, and then they break down into townships or towns or cities at different areas. Speedway broke down as it normally does, and it was decided by the county, not by the town of Speedway or not by those who are involved in Speedway. It was determined that a person couldn't vote as a precinct committeeman, even though that person was truly a precinct committeeman. The county chair decided that vote was inaccurate or ineligible, and he called for a second slating to actually be the only slating to count. So that first slating process that occurred was invalid, I guess is the proper word. And so the county chair, not the town of Speedway, no one involved in the town of Speedway, but the county chair called for a re-slating at which time. So there was actually a second slating, not 3, but that second slating was the only valid slating that occurred.
Yes, Allison. Oh.
Okay. It was my understanding, or at least I heard, that there were people who voted at the second slating who did not vote at the first one, and that some of them changed their vote. Now, maybe we don't know that for sure, but that really disturbed a lot of people. And so that's why the question is being asked, I think.
Again,
I'll
speak from what happened from the perspective of the people that were there as precinct committeemen and ward chairman is the only ones that voted. At the first slating process, a certain number of people showed up when the county chairman, not the town, no one in the town, but when the county chairman decided that was invalid, that the person who was there and eligible to vote was not allowed to, that was considered a non-vote. It was considered a non-slating process. He had, by law, to send out another request of all precinct committeemen with the opportunity to show. More precinct committeemen showed at that meeting than did the first meeting. All people were eligible to vote. That's why there was a higher number of people voting.
Sure. Yeah, and just to follow what Gary said, so every time there's a change in a precinct committeeman, a ward chair, vice PC, vice ward chair, whatever, I have to fill out paperwork and then I have to send it to the state party. When we conduct a pre-primary convention, aka slating, whenever we do it, we have to set, that list has already had to have been sent to the state party, and whatever it is locked in 30 days prior. So, and as Alex and Mohammed will tell you, that these caucuses are essentially their horse races, because you know who all your voters are. You don't have to worry about sending out mail to folks that may not show up or whatever. So if there's a condition on that that shows that somebody may or may not have been ineligible, that goes above us. Now at the time, obviously Senator Merritt, who is now our county party chairman, wasn't county party chairman during this particular issue, but that list is locked in by state party and state law. And so if there was an issue with that and then state party came back to us and said, run it back and do it again, that's what we would be obligated to do, so.
Yes, Allison.
So, precinct committeeman, how does that work? Who makes those decisions? Because it sounds like those are the people who are making the decisions for who is on our ballot. Is that correct?
Well, yes and no. So the precinct committee person, you can run. If you, whatever precinct you live in, you can file to run as a precinct committee person. All of you can. Now, if we have, and I guarantee Alex and Mohammed have the exact same issue we do, it is impossible to fill as many precincts in the county as we have open positions. And if either of them said otherwise, they'd be liars. So what you can do is,
you have to download a form?
so to file the run, you just fill out some paperwork, you run it to the clerk's office, say, yes, this is me, you turn it in, and then you're on the ballot. In the primary, you'll get elected, or you'll run if there's multiple folks against you on the same party. So they have their own precinct committeemen in the same precincts that we do. So there's Republican precinct committeemen and Democrat precinct committeemen. And then depending on, so if a Republican were to resign or pass away or whatever, we call for a caucus. And so only the Republican precinct committee people would be eligible to vote in that caucus. Now, in a slating, we have these other things that are called ward chairs. And ward chairs are essentially precinct committee people, but instead of controlling their precinct, they control up to a certain amount of precincts. Those folks are you guys just eligible to vote? Yeah. So those ward chairs on either side are eligible to vote. And then during the slating. Now, slating does not guarantee a win. As Alex, I'm sure Mohammed will tell you, that only shows that that's who the party is going to support based on those folks that the precinct committeemen, ward chairs, and ward chairs have elected to support. So that's where the party puts their money. But if anybody in here is eligible to run for a precinct committee person, and you guys just had yours last year, I believe. Yeah. So, in fact, I was there at the filing deadline working on stuff for state convention, and I saw Kate Sweeney Bell down there, and she had literally a stack this high full of folks that wanted to run. So if you want to touch on that.
Yeah, so every 4 years there are elections for precinct committee people. For us, it was incredibly important as our elections were coming up and they happened in the primary that we had folks running for PC because we want to have these precinct committee people in their communities running and basically getting us information on how we can do better. We see the PCs, the precinct committee people, there we go, as our information network, what we can be hearing from neighborhoods on how we can do better, connecting citizens with their elected officials. For us, the precinct committee person is our official, our Democratic Party official in that neighborhood. I'm a vice precinct committee person over on the east side. I'm always talking to my neighbors, making sure when people move in, if they register to vote, getting them registered to vote, getting them involved and active. So but that's what our primary focus is for our precinct committee people. And Greg had mentioned there are also legal obligations for the precinct committee people, which are the caucuses if there's a vacancy. We recently had a death of a Democrat elected official up in Lawrence, so that's when caucuses happen. Those PCs the precinct committee people are the ones that vote on that. If you're interested in becoming a Democrat precinct committee person, let me know. After the elections, please let me know. After the elections, we have a process for filling these roles. We did have an enormous boom of people running. I think this is the most elected PCs we as a party has ever had, and that's amazing. But there's always room. There's always room. And that's our way. We always see it as kind of the gateway of getting involved with the party and letting us know what's going on at the ground level. We need to know.
You said it's every 4 years. When's the next one?
2022 for us and 2020 for them.
It's different for everybody.
Yeah. The Democrat PCs are elected in the midterm and they're elected during the presidential.
Mohammed, is that yours? What's the next one?
Mohammed, did you?
That one I'm not sure as to what year it is. However, if you do connect with me, if you are interested, I'd be happy to get that information for you. Other than that, I mean, both Alex and Greg made splendid points that I can't defute. I mean, those are perfect. I have no additions on that. That's perfect. I said perfectly.
A question just came to my mind. Do you have to live in the precinct that you are committeeman?
If you want to run, yes. However, there's a process afterwards where because of the problems. So essentially, look, what precinct committeemen started out as before technology became a thing, before there was the internet in everybody's hand anytime they pulled their phone out of their pocket, it was somebody that lived in that community that knew the heartbeat of what was going on, and that's where they could connect with those folks. And now with the way things are, that has evolved. So if you want to run for precinct committeeman, you have to actually live in your precinct. However, afterwards is a process which myself, Alex, and Mohammed, our parties all use, where we can appoint anybody we want to be a precinct committeeman in any open spot. If somebody's elected, we can't remove them. However, if there's an opening because nobody else ran, we can put somebody else in there. Simply, if it's a party activist that say, like, Alex and I are on the same party, or in the same party, which we obviously would never be. And we're both running for PC, and Alex beats me, but I still want to be super involved. I still want to be super engaged. And there's a precinct right next to ours, and they're like, well, you can go get plugged in there. So like we can appoint them through. We fill out a couple forms, we send it to the state party, and then we're good to go. So.
Yeah, ours is the same. You do have to live in the precinct to run there, but a common problem that we run into is that there are a lot of folks in neighborhoods that all wanted to run. We had some precinct races with 4 or 5 people running. I know 4 people wanted to run in my precinct. So we have our appointment process. It's just about talking to us, and we'll find the best spot for everyone. We heavily encourage that PCs do actually live in their precinct. That's our default. When if you want to get appointed, that is 100% our default. If we can get you back home, as we say, but it's incredibly common for people to all live in the same precinct. So we find an option.
I just have a question. I never run for office, but I heard that if you go through that process that used to be called slating, that if you don't, like during that process, they say if we don't slate you or whatever you call it now, that you have to promise not to run against the slate. Isn't that discouraging people to run for office? Do you still do that in those meetings, or?
Do you want to take this one? Or?
Yeah,
looking at it, I mean, it's more about taking a look at. I mean, you want to make sure that you're representing. You know, if the precinct committee, if it's chosen, if a certain person is chosen at that slating process. Then it's about standing behind each other. You know, you all have the same ideas. You can still be involved, and then work with that team, work with that person that is elected. It's not necessarily something to be discouraged about. It's more of how you take a look at what is it that you need to do to get more involved, maybe to go further. This might be somebody that if somebody else was put in that position instead of you. It's a question of, was that person involved in something else beforehand? How do I get involved in that same thing? How do I also get to know the community better? We talked about wanting to make sure that we're looking at the small town platform, not just on a citywide or a national thing or statewide thing. We want to look at the people in that area, and so you want to look at Was that person involved in something else beforehand? And what can I do to get involved to then get to that same point? This is the way I would look at it.
Yeah, and the way that we see is that the pre-primary convention for us is the way that our candidates get the support from their fellow Democrats, from their PCs, these folks that are our ground operatives. We do ask people not to run in the primary if they participate in the convention. This year we had 3 people run for Congressional District 5 in our convention. Dee Thornton was eventually selected as the candidate, and then she won the primary. But there were also 4 other people that ran against her that didn't go through our process. So that's not to say that you have to go through our convention to run in the primary. That's absolutely not true. We would not do that. We encourage everyone to, because we want folks to be participating in our party and getting involved with our precinct committee people and earning their trust and their confidence. It's another layer of what democracy is. It's people voting on who they believe in and what they believe in. So for us, that is why it's to support the party and support the folks that their fellow Democrats that are my fellow Democrats selected.
Okay. Yes. So to Alex's point, they obviously had several folks that ran in the primary for the 5th. We had 3 folks that ran in slating for sheriff this year: Brian Durham, Jim Grimes, and Tom Vaughn. Brian Durham won, and all 3 decided they were going to run in the primary anyways. We're not here to force anyone out. What this is to show that the party is uniting around someone, and the party is going to use their resources to support that candidate. We can't legally force anybody out, nor would we try and push anybody out. Now, obviously, if I was somebody running for office and, I kind of got taken to the woodshed in a primary, I might think twice about, well, look, these are guys, to Alex's point, that are the heartbeat of their communities. They are going to be the ones that are talking to their neighbors, to those folks in their neighborhood, to people that go to their HOAs, to those folks that are in their churches. Why would I want to run against that? So it's a way to help clear the field so that way we can focus on each other. And obviously we'll be successful in November. But yeah, so there's no way we can actually kick somebody out. But there is, we do the pre-primary convention / slating as a way to show a sign of support for someone and as a way to start uniting the party behind somebody, similar to what the national level does in a way.
Connie, I can remember here in the Speedway, somebody was slated for town council. One person was slated and the other person wasn't. They both ran in the primary, and then the one who wasn't slated won. So it doesn't mean that you can't win, it's just that you don't have the support of the party.
Yep.
Are there other questions from the audience? Yes, back there. Can you stand up?
I think you said it already. How soon before the primary is the pre-primary?
How soon is it before the?
We like to do ours the last weekend before slating, so there's not enough time for folks to jump in and out and you guys, like, literally, we did ours 2 weeks before, and then they did theirs.
It was actually
literally
the week after.
Yeah, the week after. So
yeah, we do ours in early February.
Yeah, we like to do it right up to the filing deadline.
Are there other questions? Yes.
Yes, I have a question that's kind of this, but I lived in Speedway for 40 years, and I know that part of my property tax goes to help pay for the Speedway school system. My question is, if a child in Speedway school system decides to go, say, to a charter school, does my tax money follow that child, that new school?
I can answer that. Okay. So I actually worked for Dr. Bennett in 2012, and one of the proposals that he sent out in his 2011 legislative agenda and then passed in 2012 was that the dollars follow the child, they don't follow the school. And so what's important to note about that is if you have tax dollars for somebody that's living here, they're not going to some charter school, they're going to what your school base is. Property taxes don't go to charter schools outside of your community, they go to only schools that are inside of your community.
That's a policy.
Yeah.
Who pays for that child who goes to the charter school? Where's that money come from?
So this is way level. So like I'm a political hack. Everybody up here is a political hack. I'm not a policy wonk. But I can tell you that there's a rainy day fund that uses that every year. I could, if you If you want to follow up later, I can help you find the resources to that. But the dollars follow the child; they don't follow the school.
What dollars? Not my taxpayer though. What dollars? You said the dollars follow the child.
Correct. So not the property taxes.
So what dollars are we talking about?
So there's other taxes that go into that, such as infrastructure taxes and things like that. Those strictly follow the property taxes stay strictly within the school district. But excuse me. Other infrastructure tax and stuff, and I don't know if they messed with it when they did the gas tax, because there was a huge fight about, as everybody here knows, when the gas tax increase happened, making sure that money stayed strictly with infrastructure. I can work with that on you to find it, but I can tell you right now that it will.
Is there a time limit for that to fix? The child starts Speedway and then leaves Speedway school system. Is there a time frame?
I don't know the exact answer on that. I can help you get that though. I can work with you on that. Obviously, Senator Merritt works in the state Senate very closely with this. He's been in the trenches on it for forever. He's our county party chairman. I can help you find those answers tomorrow, so if you want.
Are there other questions?
I had one more.
Yes,
I'm sorry,
sir.
I'm doubling back on Allison's original question. I just wanted to clarify, when you say we are the ones who elect the committee persons, do you mean you as the party that is there, or are the committee persons themselves electing themselves?
Yeah, so a precinct is, there's a legal boundary guideline for these precinct committee people. So X amount of voters have to live in a precinct. Those folks go to the polls and they elect their precinct committee person. The party doesn't do anything with that. So like it's literally their neighbors, it's the neighborhood next door, it's the neighborhood to the north, neighborhood to the south. We don't do anything in that process with them.
Yeah, it's an elected position. So in this primary, if you voted in the Democrat primary in 2018, you would have had your opportunity to vote for a precinct committee person. Now, that's to be said, if they ran unopposed, they did not appear on your ballot, just so you know. Only opposed races were physically on the ballot. Those people just automatically got in. But it's voters. Voters are the people that elect PCs every 4 years.
I mean, those PCs are representing you. It wouldn't be right for the party to pick those people. It's up to the town of Speedway. It's up to each individual community, each individual city, or each precinct, I should say, to vote on those people, because it's representing your voice. So that's why it would be the voter's choice, not necessarily the party that picks that.
Are there other questions? Well, as I mentioned at the beginning, I thought we would come back to the vacancies here. And Jeff, would you come up and explain what the process is for if I want to be on the library board? How do I get on the library board?
We have several, like Mr. Fraser said, we've got several openings available. I guess I am going to take the mic. We've got several openings available. There's a sheet that's being passed around, I believe, or you may have one on your seat. The best thing to do is to reach out to Michelle's office, and if you see something that you're interested in, please reach out, and she'll help you out with all the information, and we'll go back and we tally all those names up, and council looks at all these, and that's when we vote. So a lot of good opportunities, so we'd love to have more. So that's it.
He was one of my students. Are there any other questions? Yes, Bonnie.
Is there a description somewhere available for what each of these particular commissions do and what's involved in serving in that category?
Can you answer that, Jeff?
I didn't get it.
Okay. Is there a description of what each committee does or board does? And well, I guess that's what you. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, you can either reach out to one of your counselors, or you can call Michelle. We'd be more than happy to kind of go through what the position would require and what kind of time commitments and some of the activities that you'd be involved with. So definitely reach out to one of us. You can find my information online. I'm here. I can give you my information here. So please reach out. Love to have you.
Real quick, when are those positions being closed? When do you anticipate those?
We've got kind of floating at the moment, Gary. We don't have a drop dead date, I don't believe, as of yet. Sooner the better, how's that?
I would add most positions that are, various boards have various number of people appointed to them. Council appoints a large number, but not all. The board appoints members to certain boards. For the Parks Board, for example, the school board has one appointment to that. Redevelopment has an appointment from someone from schools. Library appoints to other boards. I would say that most of the positions turn over at year end. To Jeff's point, we have a lot of people already interested in these. We have people that are serving currently that want to continue serving. Some folks do a great job, and we want to keep the ball rolling. So it's a difficult decision for the council to take someone out of a role they've been serving very well in, unless there's somewhere else to put those folks, which we do on occasion. So I would say, just as a rule of thumb, by the middle of October, it's always good to have that in. Typically, we don't start appointing or even considering that until December timeframe. There are a few boards that might turn over in mid-year, but I think the sheet that was put out here has most of the information. It's mostly accurate. There was one thing I saw in there that was maybe not quite accurate, but for the most part, it is accurate. The other thing I would add is, I think all of the boards and commissions are on the website, the town's website, and there's a description of what the board's purpose is. That purpose would be the same as a person on that board. So,
young lady next to you.
Yes, I don't have one of the sheets in front of me, but I would be interested to know the eligibility requirements, such as you have to live in the town for a certain amount of time to be on a certain board or commission.
I'll answer. It varies depending on the position. As I said, some positions on boards are appointed from various places. The City of Indianapolis, the mayor's office, appoints a spot or two within Speedway. And those people
on our library board.
Right. Those people do not have to live in Speedway. In some cases, for example, I believe our arts board, we have folks that are from outside the town. We think that's when that was developed, that board was created maybe 6 or 7 years ago. That and other boards in the town were created because there was a need for more boards. We had a lot more people coming forward, like we do here this evening, saying, how can I get involved? So creating more sub-boards and sub-boards for people to become involved in the process. So if you don't live in the town, you're much less likely to get on a board or commission. If you live in the town, I don't know that there's a specific time frame other than being a citizen in the town.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
What are the exact boundaries of the Speedway town? What do you consider town?
There is a legal boundary, and there's maps online. You can come to the town offices, you can go to the clerk treasurer's office. If I would describe it very simply, 30th Street to the north, so the Coke Field would be in. Properties north of the Coke Field are not. Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the golf course, and the industrial area to the east. So those railroad tracks that you see running to the east of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the golf course, those are kind of the boundary line. To the south, it's pretty much Eagle Creek as it flows behind Allison Transmission. And then just a little bit inside of 465, the east side of High School Road. Once you're south of Crawfordsville Road, the east side is in, but those apartments, for example, on the west side of High School Road at 21st Street, those are not in Speedway. So it's just a little subtle boundary there. And then when you get north of Crawfordsville Road, the Brickyard Flats, I wanted to get the name right, those are in Speedway. They're on the west side of High School Road, so up till about 30th Street. So I believe the Flannery Buchanan Mortuary is in, and the church that's there in the corner is not in. Does that help?
Any other questions? Well, if not, I think we need to show our appreciation for these gentlemen being here.